Boeing is now in crisis mode after the crash of two of those jets, two within 5 months. The one in Ethiopia on Sunday and one back in October in Indonesia. The stock getting hammered. Boeing has lost billions of dollars as a result. More and more countries blocking those jets. We mentioned the British, French, Germans, in fact, much of Europe, China, India, Indonesia. You can add them to the list. Not here in Canada, though, and not in the United States. Remember that Boeing is a U.S. juggernaut, so there is a lot at stake for the company. Its image, profits, future orders as well. For more, let's bring in Bryan Borzykowski, independent business journalist, joining us from Winnipeg to take stock of this story. So what do you make of it, Bryan?
Well, I mean, it's not surprising that Boeing stock is doing poorly. It's down about 10% over the last 2 days, which is a significant amount. I mean, when you have people getting killed, when you have planes going down, I mean, this is something you can't just shake off. What's really interesting, though, is that just how all these other countries are kind of following suit and grounding these planes. You can't fly these planes into Europe anymore. And so that actually has an effect on Canada and the U.S., even if the planes are still flying here. Air Canada had to cancel a bunch of flights into London, and you've seen their stock price fall too. Air Canada's down about 4%, WestJet's down about 3% because they also have these airplanes. And you see this kind of across the airlines in the U.S. as well. So there's a lot of pressure, at least from investors and from the public and from government. You know, there's lots of the political parties are now taking a stand on this, saying that some action needs to be taken and you know, maybe ground these planes.
You raise a good point. Air Canada, I believe, has got about 24 of these. WestJet has more than 10. Even Sunwing has a few of these as well. What do you make of the position of the Canadian government here, basically saying we don't want to jump to conclusions? Are we to infer that Ottawa believes these other countries are jumping to conclusions, or is there more going on here?
Yeah, you know, this is really complicated. I mean, should the planes be grounded? You know, if they have confidence in these planes, if there's nothing to indicate that the plane has malfunctioned, we don't know that yet, then why not continue flying them? There's been other accidents in other countries over the years, and we haven't seen this kind of response. So clearly, I think other countries are doing this partly because of the public outcry, because people are nervous. And that is as good of a reason as any, maybe, to ground these flights, because what's going to happen is people are going to phone Air Canada, they're going to phone WestJet, and they're going to say, I don't want to fly on these planes. Right now, Air Canada's not allowing you to change without paying a cancellation fee. And so that's going to hurt, you know, Air Canada and WestJet if people don't want to book for them. So I think it's complicated. I don't know what the right answer here is. Do you want to follow the crowd, or do you sort of stick to your guns and believe that these planes are right? But I think the pressure is going to mount significantly if there's not a resolution here. And I do think ultimately Canada probably will ground these planes just because everyone else is doing it. There's a lot of pressure for them to follow.
Another interesting angle to this is the fact that, of course, Boeing is an American company. Airbus is a European company. Many of these European countries are now saying no, at least for now, to the Boeing jet. With so much money at stake here, Bryan, do you think Boeing is putting pressure on the American government to hold off banning the planes?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. There's been reports that the CEO of Boeing has spoken to Trump and said, please don't ground these planes. You know, Boeing has invested in Trump's campaign. They donated money to his campaign. The Boeing CEO has a close relationship with Trump. So I think there for sure is pressure for the U.S. to keep these planes flying because it's an American company, because it's a big company that supports jobs. And it doesn't look great on Trump if something made in the U.S. falters. You know, however, Boeing is a massive company. They have lots of other planes in the sky. So grounding kind of this one fleet isn't really going to impact these companies, the airlines, or even Boeing in a significant way. And I think they might have to kind of succumb to some of this pressure to say, you know, we're going to look into this. But while we're doing that, all of our other planes, there's no issues there. You know, keep using those.
We appreciate you taking stock of the story for us today, Bryan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bryan Borzykowski in Winnipeg.